o'clock. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 p.m., so we will call the Board of Finance meeting to order. First thing I'll do is call the roll. Mr. Chamorro,
Here.
Mr. Fortin, Mr. Fortin,
Sorry, Mike, present.
Mr. Kelleher,
Here.
Mr. Bernardi. I see you, Michael, but you're muted.
There we go. Got it.
Okay. Mr. Bradrick,
Here.
Mrs. Waz,
Here.
Mrs. Perkins Cutler,
Here.
Mr. Shed,
Here.
and myself. Okay, so we have a full board. Next order of business would be to seat an alternate if necessary, and we are all set there because we have a full board. So the next order of business would be to approve the minutes from the February 9th, 2021 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bradrick. Do we have
I
a
second
second?
it. Fred Chamorro.
We have a second from Mr. Chamorro. Discussion. Anyone? Just wave your hand if you do. No, I see no discussion. All those in favor? Mr. Chamorro,
Aye.
Mr. Fortin,
Aye.
Mr. Kelleher,
Aye.
Mr. Bernardi,
Aye.
Mr. Bradrick,
Aye.
and I also vote aye. So that's unanimous. We'll move on to item number 5, public comment instructions. So for anyone that's joining us tonight, please remember to state your name when you speak. It's best to mute yourself when you join the meeting and use your space bar to mute and unmute. This way here, we don't get a lot of background noise and there's less confusion. If you in fact have a question for the public opinion portion, you may type that in at any time by using the chat mode on your computer, laptop, whatever you're using. If in fact you are using a phone to call in during the public opinion portion, you may hit *9, and that will give us an indication here that you have raised your hand to speak, and you will be acknowledged. All those questions will be addressed under item number 8, public comment. Any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, old business. First item A, update on the state budget. Karen, you,
I have nothing.
okay.
Nope.
You have anything, Jay?
I'm looking at B with the update on the local bridge project.
Oh, hang on. We're doing the update on the state
Oh.
budget.
Yeah,
First.
nothing yet.
You have nothing on that?
No,
No. Okay. Fred, have you heard anything on your end?
Nope. I did send Karen, I believe in yourself, a copy of the governor's estimates book.
Yes, I have that, Fred. We've also gotten that from the state directly and
Yeah.
from cost. And I did use some of those numbers in the estimated revenues. But other than that, I haven't heard anything else if it's been, up for approval or anything at this point.
I've heard nothing. So,
It's way too early in the budget process to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
all righty. Item B, Now, Jay, you can go ahead with the update on the local bridge project.
I have nothing significant other than what was on the minutes for February 9th, as far as going out to bids, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing significant. Things are moving forward. That's about it.
Yep, and I'm actually in the process of working with our financial advisor to see what our options are. I was hoping to have some information tonight, whether it's in the best interest to go out and get a bond, which is a bond anticipation note, or if the rates are really low, potentially trying to do some other type of financing, because we want to get that in order, especially if they're going to be going to bid for some of the projects. So as soon as I get some information to report, I'll be more than happy to pass that along.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, David.
Karen, if you get a ban, when will we have to begin paying on that?
So usually a ban is a 12-month set stipulation. Normally it's a no principal interest only. And for the most part, when you get a ban, usually the project is done before you roll it into a bond. And that's when the interest would get absorbed into the new bond. But if we don't get a bond, we can continue to roll over the ban up to 3 years. And normally there's no payments. Those are just basically interest. And then we try to roll all that into a bond. And then usually once we get a bond, the payment for the bond starts the fiscal year after.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Yep. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. C, update on town hall renovations. Want to take that, Jay?
They are complete. The completed project, the last thing we had, and I don't even think it was mentioned. Yeah, the last thing, February 9th, we were waiting on illuminated exit sign to be installed, and I just went out and it was installed. So we're done. We had allocated $5,000 for that. The final tab was $15,447. And again, that was because of delays. We did a lot of work ourselves with town highway crew, did work, construction, but we also had to have some security changes made. We had specialized hardware that had to be ordered. And it took longer than expected and certainly more expensive than is expected. We had money available from COVID, FEMA, which we had used towards that. And I'm not sure where we are on the final payment.
Everything has been, so all of the project that was started in fiscal year 20 was paid out of contingency. If you recall, we've given $5,000, and the balance in this current fiscal year, $3,991 came from the FEMA grant, and the balance was from our town hall repairs and maintenance line item.
Anyone have any questions on that? None? All right. We will move on to the next item, which is refers to the request of the town hall for an emergency expenditure having to do with the heating system. Jay or Karen?
Yeah, I'll take that. We had talked on February 9th about this. We had Swan Associates came in and looked at it. There was a loop leak repair. We had an option of $9,930. One of the other issues that we have is glycol, which is basically, added to the water system. And the problem we have now is that it has been so diluted, it's become acidic, and it's affected some of the fittings on the system itself. So what we've decided, and what was discussed at our last meeting when we last met, was waiting until the next fiscal year. And it's decided that it's probably not the best thing to do. It cannot go that long without creating more of a problem. It would be more expensive. So we're gonna try to do it in this fiscal year after the heating system season is over. It looks like the total cost is gonna be the $9,930. And we expect it would be $750. That's 50 gallons of glycol at $15 a gallon. The good news, if there is any, is that there'd be no labor involved because the system would be lowered at that time when this could be added. The total cost for this would be $10,680. One of the issues with Swan Associates and others, since the building was built, is that there have been suggestions on regular maintenance. And the town hall and previous administrations have tried to keep up with that. But again, you can't always prioritize what is going to fail first. So I think there's been attempts to stay up with it. This was a case where we perhaps waited too long. So anyway, it's going to be approximately $10,680 to get this squared away. It'll be this fiscal year after the heating season. So that may be May, maybe June, late April, I can't tell you. And I think for that, we're looking at contingency.
Karen, you have anything? No.
Nope. Basically exactly what Jay said, hoping, we currently have about $7,000 left in our repairs and maintenance. Not sure, if
Which has, that 7,000 has to last through the next
That's-
couple of months.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was
that's
getting.
gotta last
Yeah.
you through
That's what
July.
I was getting at. We definitely don't have enough money in the current budget, in that line item. And, if we wait, until May, we don't know what's gonna be coming over the next couple of months. But, I know that we'll have a surplus in this budget to cover that. If we use the contingency, we can always transfer money to put it back or just, move forward with, I wouldn't overexpend the budget. I would just ask to take it out of contingency.
Questions?
Well, I don't think we'd have to do anything right now, do we?
No, we're still, we're not through the heating season yet, but again, they could, they do have $7,000 presently left in their maintenance budget. And once that's expended, they can come to us for the remainder that's needed from the contingency fund. Karen, do you have any idea what the current balance is in contingency?
It's, I think there was only $300 spent out of it, so over 69,000.
Okay, so we've got, in the contingency fund, there's plenty of money to cover that cost.
Dave, if I could just go on to what you asked about what we can do now. One of the things we did do is we did an emergency patch, if you will, where we had Swan come in and put a patch where we had leakage going on. So for now, that's okay. But as I said, the question came up at the last meeting earlier in February about whether or not we could wait until the next fiscal year. That doesn't look like a possibility. So it is patched for now, but we're hoping to, as I said, April, early May.
Yeah, so I completely understand, Jay. And the second, or my point be, we're gonna have a lot of meetings over the next month or so, 2 months. So, I mean, obviously, if you gotta get it done, you contract to get it done and you can come to us. It's not like we're gonna take a couple months off, so I don't think there's anything the Board of Finance needs to do at this meeting tonight, other than to be
Correct.
made aware. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions? Remarks? No? All right, we'll move on to item E, which is update on the governor's executive orders. I myself still haven't heard any confirmed clarification on some of the changes. I mean, there's plenty of them out there, depending on which newspaper you read, what they've reported. There have been some, I don't know, Jay, what you're aware of?
Well, the thing is, we've discussed this frequently in the town hall. The executive orders are good until
The 19th.
April 19th. Some may, and I stress may be extended, but we don't know. We also believe that politically, rather than having information leak out, the governor would like to announce at one time what he's going to do and what he is going to suspend on April 18th. So it's right now it's a crapshoot. We don't know. And as you all know, this week he is loosened up some of the things on vaccinations, attendance at group activities, numbers of people allowed in churches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So things are loosening up, things are getting better. But as far as the executive orders, we don't know after the 19th what may be continued, what not. So we're just holding our breath.
Any questions on that? Oh, you guys just can't wait to get on to the budget, huh?
Is that
All right.
tonight?
That being said, we will move on to item number 7, new business. And the first order under that, A, is the general government budget presentation.
Let me ask you, Chair. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
you want the camera on me or on me?
It would be probably better if it was on you for the so that everybody gets to see a pretty smiling face while you give your dissertation.
Okay.
But I'll be right here.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you're there if I need you. All right, folks have all these. Well, I'm just gonna go through these. All right. On page 1, now, a little intro here. This is based on what was requested from the department heads and what was presented, okay? And this is the cold data, if you will, for those of you that are familiar with data that I'm presenting tonight. The Board of Selectmen, over a period of 2 evenings, they went through that, had a chance to ask questions. When the department heads presented it, we discussed. It wasn't just a matter of, this is what we would like. It was discussed. Karen and I asked questions of them. So I'm just going to go through a summary statement, if you will, and I'm open to questions. Under page 1, Board of Selectmen, we looked at an increase in salaries of 2%. By the way, one of the things that we asked of the department heads in submitting budgets is we wanted a 0% increase, a 0% base. So that's what we asked for. But again, this is what they submitted. On page 2, the assessor, there was an increase in salaries anywhere from 2 to 3%. Part-time sub-intern was mentioned. It's based on 10 hours a week for 16 weeks, which would be $2,400. Let me ask you, please, do you want me to pause after each section for questions, or do you want me to just go through the whole presentation and then take questions at the end? Do you have a preference? Mr. Chair?
I'm fine with waiting till the end.
Okay,
If you have a particular department where
No.
there is a major change,
No.
you're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in the budget one way or the other or something like that, then I think we need to discuss that at that point in time. But
I will pause at that.
I don't think
Okay.
it's, otherwise, I mean, if everybody just follows along and puts down any questions they might
Okay.
have and save them to the end, I think that would be the best. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, sure, I'm okay.
Everybody seems to be shaking their head. So, all right,
Okay.
continue, please.
Page 3, tax collector. Increase in salaries of 2%. And they wanted one full-time assistant tax collector, which includes benefits. There'd be no overall increase to staff. The increase is reflected on page 11 in the pension and insurance items. That would resolve having 2 part-time employees. So it's a difference of having 2 part-time employees with no benefits or 1 full-time employee with benefits. And that's the difference. Finance, page 4. There'd be no increase in salary for the department head, which would be the finance director, a 2% increase for staff. There'd be a stipend for a part-time elected treasurer up to $6,500. That would be, I don't know, 4 to 5 hours a week. Election on page 6, to increase part-time staff, possible extra poll workers for local elections due to COVID restrictions, $3,580. Increase in materials and supplies, $2,050. Insurance and benefits on page 11. Social Security, Medicare, that would be derived from the salary increases would be $7,800 and change. A new cyber policy split with the Board of Education, $7,500. Pension would go from 14.95% to 16.44%. It represents an increase of $36,113. That includes a full-time tax collector assistant and adding 1 more highway driver, laborer, assistant mechanic. That's 1 person. Health insurance increased from $40,538, which would be a 3% increase plus cost for additional full-time staff and not using reserve funds. Also under insurance and benefits, Teamsters Union A7 Health, $23,192. And again, that's adding the 1 new driver, laborer, assistant mechanic. Under land use on page 14, it would be creating a new department to address all land use needs. This office would have more coverage with a certified zoning tech up to 29 hours per week. There'd be no medical or pension benefits included. We will still have a part-time zoning enforcement officer and a wetlands agent, and that would be $34,944. Under land use also would be training for part-time staff to become certified technician. That would be $3,000. General government boards, that's on page 18. Open space land acquisition fund, $27,500. Again, that's an area that's been growing in recent years, and one particular use of their funds could wipe out walls. So we're trying to put money away for their use to buy development rights down the road. And again, a lot of this is for future planning. Under the building department on page 19, to increase the hours and salary for the building official would be $6,426. Increase the salary for staff would be $3,590. Under fire protection, page 21, we want to preserve the recruitment and retention program. We've had an increase in basic services, electricity, fuel, telephone, training, etc. That would be an overall increase of $12,890. Public safety. This is a big jump, as the chair mentioned, on page 23. The EMS service, we have some options. If we went with the first option, it would be $98,318 And that would be coverage for 24 hours, 7 days a week service. The second option would be an increase of $3,760, and that's to maintain the current coverage and payroll. Under highway on page 24, as previously mentioned, adding a 10th driver, laborer, assistant mechanic with Teamsters, and this includes benefits. Increase in salary for the current driver laborer position to become assistant foreman. Overall staff salary increase of $69,609. Also under highway, added line for tree removal and maintenance, $50,000. This has been somewhat of a bone of contention in the past, where it's been mentioned in conversations I've had of, why is it separate, and this sort of thing. We've had, it's been listed under the tree warden for at least 10 years as far as we can determine. And the tree warden, which again has been another bone of contention, the town has had a volunteer tree warden for a number of years who was still available to us. So that money was taken out of tree warden and placed with the highway department because it would come under that department to take care of the trees. Page 28, public health, recreation, and welfare. Northeast District Department of Health, an increase of $9,800. A lot of that is what has happened recently with COVID in the past year. They've expanded their services. They've been very responsive to our needs in other towns. They've added staff. The other thing is that their cost to this town and others is based on a per dollar per person based on population. They have gone up. They have increased their per person cost. Libraries, this is the 4 libraries in town combined. Their requests are $15,920. Let's see, overall significant decreases. There is good news occasionally. On page 3, under the tax collector, it was a decrease of $5,500 by reducing the number of staff. And it's going from 2 part-time to 1 full-time. Town hall decrease in town hall, part-time staff based on decreased hours for recording clerk, $4,900. What this is an individual that was taking minutes for a variety of boards and commissions will now be concentrated in working in the land use office. Public safety, I already mentioned about the tree warden and what we're doing with that, and it's coming under highway. Environmental, that's on page 26. Cody Hill Contractual Services. This is groundwater testing and reporting. We expect to be saving $11,000. Redemption of debt on page 29. Interest on the highway bonds. There was a kindergarten through 4th grade renovation bond that was satisfied and paid off. There was a public bond, and again, this is on page 29. No continuing disclosure. The overall savings is $98,913. The budget proposal as a whole represents approximately 5% increase or $268,382 over fiscal year 1920. While I'm looking there. Okay, that is it. Do we have questions?
Go ahead, Ray. Ray.
I have 2 questions. Your maximum of 268. Does that assume the public safety, $98,000 for 24/7, 365 coverage. Is that included in the larger figure?
Yes. Yes. Roy, did you catch that?
I did not hear a word.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it is included. Roy?
Yes, I hear. Okay, it
Oh,
is
okay.
included.
Right.
And I
You got
have, one
Right.
more, and I
Yes,
will.
sir.
The second one is, I believe, in section 4, and I'm confused because I heard two words mentioned. One was treasurer and one was finance director. And can you explain that to me? Because I don't understand it.
Okay. The Board of Selectmen created a new position called Finance Director. And the reason we did that is we found, we looked at the treasurer and we looked at Finance Director, and we found that Finance Director is more in line with what we have going on in our finance office today. Treasurer is described through state statute, and it is a lot less. Our current finance director is doing a lot more than the treasurer had done. So the Board of Selectmen created a position, but yet we're still going to need a treasurer, which is an elected position. That, for this fiscal year, is going to be appointed by the Republican Town Committee. For next November's elections, the description of that job is going to go to both the Republican and Democratic town committees, because they are going to have to nominate somebody to run for that office.
Follow up on that, what is the duties of the treasurer? If you're gonna have a finance director?
Just whatever the statute is.
It's based on what the statute says, and I don't have that information in front of me, but it's something that once we came up with that description, we looked at what the finance director does and what the treasurer does, and the treasurer does a lot less than the finance director has been doing.
Yeah, I
So
know
if we
that, you
get-
said that, but I was wondering what their duties are gonna be. Is there gonna be a potential conflict between these two positions?
No, they'd be working together.
And how would that work?
Well,
For the finance.
okay, I'm gonna read. This is the statutes that covers the treasurer. They sign town-approved manual checks in payroll and for accounts payable. So they pay the bills, they sign the checks. They sign Board of Ed manual checks in payroll and for accounts payable. All monies collected on a daily basis in the finance department will be deposited by the finance director or bookkeeper. The treasurer will review and sign off on weekly deposits. If instead the treasurer wishes to make the deposits weekly, he or she will need to be bonded. The treasurer will be provided monthly review reports to review. He or she may present these reports to the Board of Finance if so desired. The treasurer signs off on bonding documents when necessary. Any investments the treasurer wants to make must be approved by the Board of Finance. The treasurer will advise the finance director as to what should be invested. The treasurer shall sign off on bank transfers made by the finance director. The treasurer signs off on all disbursement transfers between accounts, the monthly transfer from the town clerk and town tax collector accounts to the general fund. Additional duties may be required, et cetera, et cetera. So they will work in conjunction with and together, but we felt that the treasurer by statute is only looking at maybe 4 or 5 hours a week, as opposed to the finance director who's putting in I mean, the hours, you know, we're working 5 days a week, even though the town hall is only open 4 days a week. So that's the difference. Yeah, Roy.
I have concerns, not with the people involved, and I'll take the risk of offending everyone here. You're proposing a substantial change. We elected a treasurer, the voters of Woodstock. We said, yes, we want this person to be our treasurer. And we're happy with the duty she's doing. And her job performance is outstanding. But you are now creating a new high-level administrative position in your proposed budget within the town. And I think that, A, that should be something that is not decided by a Zoom meeting or a small board. I think that belongs as a decision of the town people because they already elected somebody. And the second issue is when you hire somebody who's that qualified and has that level of expertise, it should not be a shoe-in. There has to be some kind of a selection process where other potentially able candidates are looked at so we get the best bang for our buck for the town of Woodstock. And I am not comfortable in the least with the process of removing the treasurer's position and amending all that and replacing it with a finance director at this juncture. I think if we had a meeting on this, a town meeting, then perhaps my fears would be less. But it's the process that bothers me more than the job and the ability of the current people to handle the job. End of gripe.
Oh, okay, duly noted. The Board of Selectmen created the position. And the reason they created the position is we looked at the current treasurer, what that treasurer was doing and what's required by state statute. And we decided they were, as you said, doing a terrific job. They were over and above. So the current treasurer was appointed to the new position of finance director. However, you are right. And we recognize that the treasurer was an elected position. It was chosen by the people of the town. Therefore, the treasurer will continue to be an elected position. But if we go according to state statutes, that position only requires approximately 4 to 5 hours a week. And that person can continue to fulfill their duties. And again, that position would be filled by the Republican Town Committee because it's presently occupied by a Republican. And both chairs of both political committees in town will be given the guidelines, the outline, and the job description for treasurer so that each can nominate an individual to run for the position of treasurer next November. And it's not a matter of a town meeting. It's not a matter of voting. It's a matter of the selectmen have the right to select and create duties to serve the town and select individuals to serve in those positions, which is basically what we did.
Anyone else?
Yes,
Go ahead.
well, I'm actually glad that Roy made his comments because I have some concerns about taking an elected position and changing it to a staff position. I'm not sure the Board of Selectmen have the right to do that. And I'd love to hear if the town council was discussed, if this was discussed with the town council as to process. But I guess I'm more concerned that this is a high level position within the town. And I don't doubt that you've got a great person there. I think Karen does a wonderful, wonderful job. But I do think that when this kind of a position comes up, there has to be a process. It has to be, it should be noticed. It shouldn't be something that's done in a private way. This just doesn't seem appropriate and transparent. And so I would suggest that perhaps that process be gone through.
You have a, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Charlene, the issue is, it was not a secret process. It was that the Board of Selectmen have the right to do these things, and we are not taking the treasurer away. The treasurer is still an elected position. The treasurer currently will be appointed by the Republican Town Committee. Both committees will have the right to nominate someone to run for election for that position next November. The other thing about town council was consulted from day one about this and a number of other issues because it's different. And I am very cautious about making decisions that affect the town without consulting with the town attorney. And I've done this on a variety of things because, again, my personal thing is to do what's best for the town. You know, I have no desires to create any, you know, anything big in the future. I'm trying to do what's best for the town. So before I make any decisions, I consult with town council. It was the same thing with the rest of the Board of Selectmen. So, you know, we haven't taken away an elected position. And we did consult with the town council who agreed with us and assisted us in looking at state statutes describing the two jobs. The other thing I might mention is that I did some homework with assistants and I looked at other towns with similar populations in Connecticut, under 10,000 people, and how many had a treasurer, how many had a finance director, how many had both. And I want to say, and I don't have figures in front of me because I didn't know we're going to discuss this tonight, but there's about 120 out of 169 towns or municipalities in Connecticut that have both positions. So we haven't taken anything away. It's just we're adding to, if you will.
Jay, the
Anyone
number is
else?
127. I looked it up.
What? I'm sorry, Michelle?
It's 127 towns. I looked it up.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
127.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do, actually.
Go ahead, David.
I want to pick up where Charlene and Roy were. Let's try to back away from all the people that we know for a minute. And because we all know each other. And just talk about, in my opinion, I'd like to know what problem are we trying to solve? Is my first question. And my second item would be, could we see the job descriptions for both positions and the legal opinions? That might put some members of the Board of Finance at ease going forward. But maybe you could answer my first question.
Go ahead, Jay.
First question, if you will, is there was no problem. We're just trying to move forward. And we look at the number of towns and how these two positions interact with each other and move forward for the future. It's not that the treasurer, the position was bad. It's not that the finance director is better. It's just that we're trying to move forward with how we look at development of Woodstock and other towns, you know? And they're two different things. They interact, but they're two different things. So, you know, again, are there job descriptions? Yes. And these are things that we're going to be sharing. It's not like we're not sharing that information with people, but you know, it makes it sound like there's a large group of people that should have been given this job descriptions and should have had a say in what future was happening, whereas the Board of Selectmen are entrusted and elected by members of the town to make decisions on what's best for the town, you know, today and in the future.
I'm not trying to insinuate that a larger group should be involved, Jay. If I somehow insinuated that to you, I apologize. That wasn't my purpose. My thought was there were questions here by several members. There may be concerns by others that are not being voiced here. And I was simply asking if we'd be able to see those.
Sure. I mean, not tonight, because I wasn't expecting.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not looking for anything unreasonable.
No, in fact, I'll check with Mike. We can certainly provide those to any of you that are interested.
It may put some people at ease. And, you know, the legal opinions as well. Like I said, this is not a criticism. This is a question and answer session. That's all.
Well,
And, you know, we have you, as you said, the Board of Selectmen has their job, their duties and their rights, and we have a certain responsibility. And I heard some other members express some concerns, and I may have some myself, not suggesting that I'm against it, just wanting to know more about it.
David, we can do that, but you know what? And this may be an answer to you or to anybody else that has issues. It's new. It's different. And I can understand why people have concerns, because it's human nature to question things that are different or question things that are new.
Certainly.
And the finance department, if you will, in the town of Woodstock, requires more than the skills or the dedication of simply a treasurer. It's the treasurer position has evolved over the years into a much more complex responsibility and job, basically. So we're trying to meet that complexity, if you will, by creating a new position. So, yeah, I mean, we will be very happy to, you know, provide that information to all the members of Board of Finance if you wish.
Yeah, Jay, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, and tonight, I don't think that any of us are in a position where we're looking at your budget and suggesting there are line item vetoes here. It's just more like a, you know, like I said, a question and answer session, informational, to try to understand the decision-making process that goes into the budget. So, you know, that's all.
Well, and Dave, the other thing, as I said at the very, very beginning, is this is what was submitted by the department heads. And there were discussions with the department heads and Karen and I about what they were, you know, have they considered? Why have they done, you know, just discussion. And then it was presented to the Board of Selectmen over 2 evenings. And we had discussions about this. And we chose to present it to the Board of Finance tonight as, I don't want to say raw data, but this is the requests that were made of us that we are passing on to you. And it's the requests that were presented to us.
Yeah, thanks.
Anyone
Jay.
else? Charlene? Charlene?
Yes, just quickly, has this change in personnel already occurred? Or is this going to be happening with the new budget year?
It will be occurring in the coming weeks. It has occurred in the sense that Karen Fitzpatrick has been functioning for years as a finance director.
Yeah.
However, in the town hall, she's always been treated and been addressed, if you will, as the treasurer. But in looking at the two responsibilities of the two jobs, the Board of Selectmen realized they're two very different. They work together, but they're very different. So yes, it has occurred now. I have been in touch with Dwight Rankowitz for his group to appoint an interim treasurer to finish out this year. And then it would be up to both parties to nominate an appropriate person to run for treasurer next November.
And just one more quick question. Given the nature of this particular job and the treasurer's job, did you have occasion to reach out to Mike as chairman of Board of Finance and just?
No,
Thank you.
and Charlene, follow up to your question, it's not like there's gonna be a change, it's not gonna be more expensive. We don't expect that the finance director is gonna increase salary. We just don't expect major changes financially because of this change in the finance office, if you will. So that, I guess, if at all, that's why we need to consult with Mike.
Question.
Yes, sir.
You just said there'd not be an increase, so the new treasurer is not going to withdraw her salary?
No. No, the finance director will keep the salary that she has.
And the
The,
treasurer won't get paid?
no, the treasurer will, but again, it would be.
But I don't understand your statement. There's not an increase.
It's a small stipend for the treasurer, for the.
So there will be an increase. So there will be an increase.
$6,000.
$6,000, 6,500.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you made the statement, no increase. The
It's no,
statement should have been a small increase. Okay, I just want to understand
It-
what your statement was.
it's no increase to Karen's salary. She will stay at the same. Her title will change, but the salary will stay the same. Once we have a treasurer on board, that person will receive a stipend for the 4 to 5 hours a week that they are here.
I have one more.
Michelle was waiting to speak
Go,
there.
go, Michelle.
Go ahead,
So-
Michelle.
I actually see the benefit of having a finance director in addition to a treasurer. Not that it's up to us, it's not up to us, but I do see the benefit in that because municipal finance, I think, is much more complicated than when the statutes when the treasurer was established many years ago. And I think it's good to have somebody in the position who has an expertise in that. And you can't guarantee that when you have an elected position. So I actually think there are some upsides to it, and change is hard for everybody, but I think there are some benefits to it. I do have some concerns, like everyone else expressed, about this being a new position. And again, I think Karen does a fabulous job, and not advocating that she be replaced, but that because it is such a high level position, it's a high salaried position, that it should have been advertised and at least put out to the public, for other applicants. Not that I'm advocating replacing her.
My attitude, I think, Michelle, is thank you for your kind words. But my attitude is, if you have somebody that's overqualified or extremely qualified, why advertise?
Mr. Bradrick.
I just,
Go ahead, Michelle.
go ahead.
Finish up, Michelle.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's different when you're like working in a public space with public money, and that's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just that's just my opinion. That's my response. That's all I have to say.
Michelle, just to follow up, if I may, it sounded like an attorney, just a follow up. Anyway, Karen has already been getting that salary and doing the job that is described under the finance director. So to advertise for somebody else didn't seem appropriate to me or to the other two selectmen. Because again, she was making the salary, she was doing the job. So it's just a matter of changing her title.
I understand. It is a new position for the town, though. Even though she was doing the job, it is a new position. But that's okay. We can agree to disagree on that. It's all good.
All right, Mr. Bradrick.
So I just understand that this has already happened. We now have a finance director. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
The second question, do we still have a treasurer, or has there been a resignation?
It has not occurred yet.
Thank
We're
you.
working with the attorney now, and it's going to be a matter of change. Somebody resigns, somebody is appointed. We'll have a letter, if you will, going to the finance director, as we do with other employees of the town hall. So yeah, we're working out the details, if you will, in conjunction with the town attorney.
Mr. Sheep,
Yeah, I'm just curious if a person's going to be working 4 to 5 hours a week. Are you confident that you would find a qualified person that would be willing to work for 4 or 5 hours a week?
You have,
We've done a survey. Most towns.
we have done a survey of other towns and they do, that's about what they're looking at for their treasurer coming in to do the things that I described earlier. And again, you know, you may have somebody that's retired, similar to me, that would be happy to come in 4 or 5 hours a week and still getting sucked into this full-time stuff. But you may have somebody that's retired that has a background in finance that would like to do it. You may have a young mom that, while the children are in school, has a background in finance, would like to come in. There are a number of towns in Connecticut to do that with 4 or 5 hours a week, and there's no benefits.
Okay,
Oh, and
thanks.
sometimes it's less. I'm not guaranteeing 4 or 5 hours a week.
Thank you.
anyone else have any questions on that? All right, if not, does anyone have any questions on any other portion of the budget as you heard it presented tonight?
I have one.
Go ahead, Deb.
I would refer everybody to page 29. So if all right, let me see if I can word this correctly. The total increase in this budget over last year's budget, meaning the 2021 budget, is $268,382. Is that correct?
No. That is the increase in the operational side of the budget,
Which includes,
which includes,
it's the overall budget.
yeah,
which
the
will
overall,
Say fiscal year 2021, not 1920.
yeah, there's a misheading.
Yeah.
But actually what it
Yes,
amounts to is,
2021 versus 21-22, the total projected increase,
It's 268,382.
correct,
correct, that's what I said.
yeah,
But at the same time, the $98,913 offset for the redemption of debt has been absorbed, meaning the total increase in spending is actually $367,295. Is that correct?
correct, that's correct. So it's basically a little over 4.9%, 4.99% increase in the budget total.
Yeah.
But due to the fact that you have a 22.5% decrease in the redemption of debt, the actual increase to the operating side of the Board of Selectmen's budget would be 7.35%.
Okay, thanks, Mike. That's what I had.
Okay. I did a little extra ahead of time, sorry.
I did too.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charlene.
Yeah, just to go back to the budget on the election quickly. There's a substantial increase, about almost 7,500, so about 28%. And did I recall Jay said this was due to COVID?
Hold on.
1 second, please.
Are you talking about the elections budget?
Yes.
Okay, so, with their budget request, they increased, a lot of the increase was in the part-time staff, because I'm thinking that, when I spoke to, mainly Nora, who presented the budget to us, they feel that when the upcoming elections, they may have to have it at the middle school again for social distancing, and that required a lot more personnel. So that was why there was an increase in their budget, in their part-time staff line item. And the other big increase was, an increase in materials and supplies. But
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Anyone? All right, hearing none, we will move on to the next item, which is number 7B, the 5-year capital plan for the Board of Selectmen portion of the budget. What's that?
Yep. Okay, let's see, this was approved by the Board of Selectmen. It is the total, looking at page 2, grand total, $9,402,800. These are things that, again, looking at, and we're looking at the future here, okay? And these are proactive planning, if you will. Highway Department drainage, grinding and paving, bridges, fleet operations with equipment, fuel depot at the town garage, transfer station, general government. One of the things I will mention to you that has been in discussion recently under general government, Crystal Pond Park, Trout Pond, deep mandate. What this is the dam over at the Trout Pond at Crystal Pond. We have been in discussions with the commission from Crystal Pond Park, and they have finally agreed. We get into a situation that's going to be expensive one way or another. It's shared by both towns. The property over there is frankly a gem to have, to be enjoyed by the residents of both towns. One of the issues that came up with DEEP, and DEEP inspects all dams in the state, makes recommendations. They basically said to the two towns, you either have to improve that dam or remove it. So it's been a number of discussions since I took office with the selectmen in Eastford about the dam. And finally, the commission has agreed that the dam should be breached. It's an expensive proposition. Planning has to go into it. Engineers have to get involved with it. Construction has to be involved in it to breach the dam. This would be an expensive project in the future, and we're just looking down the road. The other thing under general government is we're in the process of going through reevaluation now. We have contracted with NECOG, which we are members of, and we share resources with other towns through NECOG. We were assessed based on population of the town, along with other towns that are going through our reevaluation. We would like to put some money away to use our own discretion in the future, rather than going with companies that are hired by NECOG to do evaluation of properties in town, but make our own determination, perhaps go out to bids and find more appropriate companies to our needs at perhaps a better price. Again, looking out for the benefits to taxpayers in town. The Highway Department bridges, as I mentioned earlier, it's in the process. We're going out on bids. John Navarro is doing background work with abutters, getting prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this will take time. Most of this, has been worked on. As you can see, the original year requested, some of this stuff goes back to 2013, 2009. Some of the things are annual, but bottom line is these were approved by the Board of Selectmen on February 22nd, And again, the total on this would be $9,402,800. Any questions about this? Yes, sir. Fred?
On the revaluation, going back to that.
Yep.
In the operating budget, there was 29,000. So is that the amount to go to NECOG, or is that the NECOG payment this year? And the
Karen will give an explanation on that.
Hi, Fred. So basically, what's in our current budget is because we have already contracted with NECOG.
Mhm.
So, for the 2021 reval, so we have to start paying it over 5 years. The money that's in, the capital plan is because reval is considered a capital project and capital funds can be used, on statute. So basically, that has been there for years as a placeholder. So if funds are needed for reval that we can't budget for, we would have the right to come and ask for that out of CNR. It is with hopes that we can't budget for this payment plus save for future reval in 2026. What we've been seeing with NECOG is that based on the number of towns that participate, it raises or can decrease the cost. And what we found is originally our amount should have been less expensive, but then 2 towns recently dropped out. So our current assessor is really not happy. So what we're hoping for is after this reval, any future revals, she would be able to work with somebody independently, and then we would be able to utilize CNR funds for that.
Okay. Under the statute, towns can create a revaluation fund in which they can place monies from operating into this fund.
Correct.
It's a dedicated fund for the revaluation. So when that 5-year revaluation comes along, it's not a one-shot
Correct.
expense. So
Yep.
the plan is to move from NECOG, separate
Eventually.
NECOG, and then eventually create a revaluation fund, which would
Yes,
be funded from.
CNR. Yep, eventually. We would have liked to have done it this year, but we would have had to pay, I think it was about 130,000 upfront, and we didn't have that in this current budget. So we're kind of stuck with them right now for this reval, and they give you 5 years to pay for it.
So we still have a 5-year commitment to NECOG?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one, Mike.
Go ahead, David.
Oh, the transfer station, container roofs, DEP mandate, CNR. Didn't we get a grant for that expense?
Not to my knowledge.
I believe there was a transfer station grant from back in, I want to say either 2013 or 2014 that was never used.
Correct.
That's my
And
memory.
that grant is no longer available. It was old, and the state closed out all the old grants that were 5 years or older.
Okay, so we had a grant, we didn't use it, so we lost it.
Basically, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
But we're still under that DEP mandate, correct?
Yes, that's something that DEP said has to be done. They haven't given us a final date on it. In other words, they haven't come in and said, look, if you don't have it done by July 1st, we're locking the doors, but they said you have to do it.
Mhm.
Like another one of those things that the state does and then doesn't follow up on, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and in this case, it's okay. We'll do it as soon as we can, but yeah, we've been told it has to be done. There may in fact come a time where there'll be no question. It will be done, or the transfer station will be closed. Go ahead, Karen.
One more thing I wanted to elaborate on that particular grant. I know that John Navarro for a while was trying to get that grant revised because there was some change orders of things that needed to be done at the transfer station. And they applied to the person that was in charge of the particular grant, and that person has since retired. In the process, back in 2017-18, the state actually froze, or what have you call, hold back a lot of the grants. So we went back into the file and we realized that it said that all of those steep grants were going to be on hold indefinitely. So that's where the lapse was. And then when we recently tried to look into utilizing that, we were told by OPM that in order to apply for any future grants, we had to have those closed out, and because they weren't used, they were closed out. So I think it was a little bit of a miscommunication between the town and the actual OPM, but for at least 2 years, those grants, we have records from the state stating that they were on hold indefinitely.
Again, thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? No other questions on that? All right. That being said, we'll move on to item C, which is the preliminary estimates of revenues for 2021. Karen, you want to handle that?
Okay. Normally, we don't even really talk about revenues this early. We usually present the revenues when we do the combined budgets at the end of March. But Mike reached out to me and asked me if I could come up with some preliminary numbers. So these numbers are not set in stone. I'm still waiting for Linda's collections. I'm not sure if everybody was aware, but because of COVID, the collections were extended till April 1st. So she is approximately 5% behind what she normally would be. So I take some of that into consideration. When I'm looking at budgeting, for taxes, I always work with the tax collector based on, her advice. So, her and I talked about things a little bit. We're going to wait, another week or so to see how much more money will come in. Again, based on her information, she's about 5% behind. So these numbers are just guesstimates based on the last 3 years. And I take like an average and then I deducted between 5 and 10% for now until she gets more collections. The state grants, those were what was presented in this fiscal year. We, of course, know that the state doesn't have their budget yet, but those were the numbers proposed. And as far as other income, again, I look at the average of the last 3 years of the income that we have collected. I try to take an average, but I also take into consideration the, I guess, what we're facing. So for instance, as an example, conveyance tax. Right now, we're in a really high housing market. So the collections would be normally higher, but I wouldn't say that that's going to be guaranteed next year. So I don't like to go too high, but again, these numbers can change based on just the revenues that have come in over the past 3 years and what situation we're actually in at this time. I don't anticipate as much revenue from interest because the interest rates all over, no matter what banks that we're talking to or working with, the interest rates are substantially low. I don't foresee budgeting a lot more than what we earned last year. It seems like since COVID hit, a lot of the banks all reduced their interest based on the federal government guidelines. We've had a lot of hard times in that particular industry. So again, these numbers are really preliminary. I should have better figures within the next week or so, working with the tax collector and the town clerk with, more collections for permits and different things like that. These numbers, once we finalize them with the Prop 46 calculation, we'll go to the town attorney for his blessing before we present them on March 23rd at the combined budget. Once these revenues are presented, they still can change up until the final budget in April, because any number can make any changes, especially when it comes to the Prop 46 calculation. If numbers change due to special ed increases or things like that, that can change. So again, right now, based on just basic estimates, And we're estimating about $24,111,751 in estimated revenues. The current taxes are based on the current mill rate. If by some chance the board decides to increase the mill, that would of course increase our current taxes. And does anybody have any questions?
Anyone? Go ahead.
I just want to go back quickly. I know that there was FEMA COVID money that was coming in that was going to subsidize the town hall renovation project. Is there any more FEMA COVID money coming to us in this fiscal year?
So
Our present,
I don't see any FEMA money coming in because FEMA is strictly reimbursement.
okay,
As far as any municipal CRF funds, everything that we've been giving to date has been given to us. And it's been, some of it's been reimbursed to the Board of Ed for some of their expenditures, and some has been reimbursed to the town for our expenditures between last fiscal year and this fiscal year. Basically, some of the money that we received for reimbursement was to go towards some of the salaries here for the town in this current budget, because these people are doing more of their duties based on COVID. So under the federal guidelines, it lets us, it tells us what we can reimburse. So any money that we've received to date has already been used in this current budget or last fiscal year as reimbursement.
so, and then just one other thing quickly, the funds from the American Recovery Act, the big COVID package that just, or is about to pass Congress. I thought I saw a press release from Congressman Courtney saying that he thought that Eastern Connecticut was going to be getting about 38 million out of what was proposed. Have you heard any discussions from anybody about how this is going to be allocated? Will it be per capita? And do we have any thoughts about that money? I don't see it anywhere in these estimates.
No, so I can't use any estimates without having any physical or anything in writing. I have nothing stating how much Woodstock would get. I know that a lot of the grants, like for the Board of Ed, Janice may have more information on that on her budget. I'm not 100% sure. I think that Janice could be able to answer that. As far as the town, again, I have nothing right now telling us what our portion is going to be. In the past with the municipal CRF, the first installment we received as of June 30th was actually reimbursement. So Janice and I had to physically enter all invoices that were COVID related and get them approved by the OPM. And then we received the funds, and that was for June 30th. And then I think it was very overwhelming for OPM because the second round, they said, we're just giving everybody based on per capita the balance. And we ended up with an additional 57,000. We gave the Board of Ed, I believe it was approximately like 28,000. And then the balance you will see as a surplus in this current budget when we get to June 30. Because we use those funds to reimburse some of the line items that we felt were qualified for that grant to be reimbursed. But I have nothing moving forward with this new budget as how much we would be getting.
Comment.
Fred, go ahead.
As I understand it, and Chris, I didn't sit through the 10-hour marathon session of reading of the bill, but as I understand what the bill does, there is money in there for local governments. However, it's on a county basis. Connecticut has no counties. So what I've heard is the money is going to go to the state, and the state, probably through their budget and legislative process, will decide some allocations to the towns and cities. So we're further complicated beyond the bill, the federal bill. We're complicated because we have no county government in which the federal government will give direct money to. In Connecticut, it'll go to the state. And who knows what, and when it goes through that meat grinder, who knows what Woodstock or anybody else is going to get.
So basically, the current muni CRS money was the same thing. It all went to the federal government gave it to the state, and then the state was the one who dispersed it.
Yeah.
So I would assume anything coming down the road, but again, I've heard no exact amount. So it would be very difficult to put any kind of an estimate on our revenue sheet, not knowing, you know, not really having any information. But if I get something before April final budget, and there is going to be money, excuse me, that could be used to help offset this budget and to offset taxes to the taxpayer, we would definitely make sure that we focused on that and put it on our estimate revenue sheet.
Any other questions? Everyone's good?
Yeah.
All right, then we will move on to public comment. Crystal, do we have anybody who has asked a question or a comment? No? All right, it appears we have no public comment. So we'll move on to item 9, other from the board. Roy, do you have anything? No? Michael? You have anything? No? Michelle?
Nope.
Fred?
No,
Jeff? Jeff, you have anything?
No, he waved no.
No? Okay, Charlene? Barry?
No.
David?
No further comments. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That being said, next thing would be correspondence and announcements. I forwarded you all the email from Crystal for the FOIA workshop tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. If you don't have the information to log into that, you can let me know. I have it. But that will be at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. And Tom Hennick from FOI will do that workshop. So if you have any questions on freedom of information or how it pertains to us, that's a good chance to get them answered by the man with the answers. And it is required annual training. So if you can get in on that tomorrow night, great. If not, we'll see if we can make some other arrangements down the road to take care of that. Okay. I was just told that it was going to be recorded. So if anyone is not available to take part in it tomorrow night, then you can view it later. The other information, I have nothing else except to remind you all that we have a special meeting next Tuesday night. That'll be the Board of Education's budget presentation. And then the following Tuesday, the 23rd, will be our combination budget presentation and an update on the revenues. So we'll know where we're going from there. With that, adjournment's in order. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
second,
We have a second. All those in favor? Say aye, raise your hand, whatever.
Aye.
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 Very good. Excellent. Everyone, have a good night. I thank you very much for your time and your participation, and stay safe.